GarageBand is not available on Windows, Android, Commodore 64, or any other non-Apple platform. Why? Because it's made by Apple for Apple users to sell iPads, iPhones, and Mac computers to folks who want to create music with GarageBand. However, despite all that, and despite the efforts of folks like me and Patrick from the GarageBand Guide trying to put as many educational videos out there as physically possible, there is still so much misinformation out there. So in this one, I'm going to give you all the information you need. I'm going to tell you why it is not available on any other platform, why it will never be available on any other platform, and what some of the alternatives are, because some of these videos and articles you see are not as bad as others. Some will say out and out, yes, you can actually put GarageBand on your PC or on your Android device. Others will say, you sort of kind of can. And guess what? You sort of kind of can, but not really. So why not? Why not? Why would Apple never actually do this? Well, as I mentioned up front, Apple make GarageBand as a free piece of software to put on every iPhone, every iPad, every Mac you buy, and it's free software. But it is actually more like a loss leader. So, when you go to a supermarket and they've got something that's on crazy special, you can buy a packet of Mars bars for $2 and you're like, that's a great deal. I'm going to buy all the Mars bars for $2. And then once you're there, you buy your $2 Mars bars, but then you're like, oh, while I'm here, I'll do all these other things. So it's the same sort of thing with GarageBand. It is something that they put on Apple products. Now, you could make the argument that, yes, but Microsoft make Office and they want people to use Office on a Mac. It's a fairly different kind of thing because no one's buying a Mac or a Windows PC for the word processor or the spreadsheet. But some folks are definitely choosing Mac over Windows simply for the things like Keynote, like GarageBand, like Pages, like Numbers, like all of the Apple-specific software, Final Cut Pro, Logic Pro. There's a heap of Apple-specific software that you can only get on your iOS and your Mac devices. What would it look like? What would a world be in which Apple decided that they would actually provide a Windows version? Well, let's just go through the logistics of this. They would have to completely redevelop. They would have to get the code that is currently only for Mac and iOS, and they would have to port that over to Windows or to Android or to whatever platform. That's not only going to take a lot of time, but take a lot of developer effort, take a lot of money to actually get that done, a lot of beta testing as well. Think about when Apple put out a new GarageBand update, how many times that there's additional things and bugs, bug fixes and stability improvements. And now imagine if they did that on Windows environment. Sorry, Windows users, it's not the worst. It's not as bad as it once was, but yeah, trying to port that code across isn't going to happen. Now, at this point in time, there are folks who have been listening to this and watching this and saying, yeah, but, well, actually, all those cool nerd things, I like saying them too, it's fine. Yeah, but what you can actually do see, and that's what a lot of these are actually saying, what you can actually do see is run a virtual machine. So you can actually, in fact, this one here, I watched this video yesterday from this particular user. And look, they said 5 different methods and all of them involved installing Mac OS on a Windows virtual machine. Now, that's not only super complicated and difficult for even a high-end user to do, it's not practical. Having access to all, like the reason GarageBand is great is everything is integrated. You can plug in your USB microphones, you can plug in headphones, you can plug in your audio interfaces and your mixers, and it all just works. For every time I've watched a video where someone has tried to install GarageBand on a virtual machine on their Windows PC, it never works well. It is laggy. The audio is glitchy. Some of the things that you plug in don't work. External plugins don't work because it doesn't point to the right location. So even if you could, I don't think you should. If you are the sort of person that loves playing around with virtual machines, which is basically a way of installing a pretend computer, a fake computer on another computer, so you're running a computer inside of a computer, then go your hardest. Enjoy it, tinker with it, play with it. Hey, maybe you'll get something close to working. But for your average user, is it worth doing that? Or is it worth maybe saving up and get yourself a $900 MacBook Air and installing GarageBand on that? Or a $329 iPad or iPhone. Like the lower end iPads and iPhones can run GarageBand iOS quite well. So, yes, virtual machines are a thing. So before, in fact, the only people that will come in there and have a go at me and say, "Oh, but you can use virtual machines," they've already left their comments and they're gone. They only listened to the first minute of this, or maybe they only read the title and then decided, "Hey, that guy's wrong." I spend my time on the internet roaming around pointing out where people are wrong. So let's get into the important, the nuts and bolts, the nitty gritty. Why do people tell you that you can? Why is it when I search GarageBand for Windows, this is? Now, I'm going to click this. I highly recommend you don't. If you want to follow along at home, let me be your guinea pig. But why are there websites like this called GarageBandOnPC.com? And why, when I click this, is it going to tell me that I can get a free download? Now, I'm definitely not going to be clicking this download now button. It is not a good idea to do that on anything like this. But as you can see here, GarageBand for Windows - Mac OS. What does that mean? Size 12 megabytes. Now, I don't know what this is actually going to be, a very stripped down version of Audacity. I'm not sure. Last up, checked virus free. I'm sorry, but it's a bit like when you tell me there's no hormones in my beef or no antibiotics in my eggs. As soon as you say it's not, I'm a little bit worried about why you ever thought it was. So checked virus free doesn't fill me with a great deal of comfort. And requirement Windows 10 or 11 language English. And then it's going to show a lot of stuff down here. GarageBand for Windows comes with a fully functional and complete sound library in 12 megabytes, apparently. They have 5 drummer audition to fit everyone's distinct style. It comes with hundreds of hip hop, EDM, jazz sounds, piano, guitar, the insanely huge library, etc., etc. So here's the minimum specs. You need Windows 7 or higher now. It was 10 or 11 before. You need at least 4 gigabytes of RAM, but 8 gigabytes recommended. You need 2 gigabytes of space, despite the fact that the install is 12 megabytes, and an Intel i5 or Ryzen 7 processor. So how do you download it? While researching, you might have come across various methods to run GarageBand. However, some procedures might turn out to be too complicated to follow, whereas others are unsafe and unreliable. The best ways to run this app on Windows PC is in VMware. It is the method I recommend and most personally use. There is no lag and exports are easier and much faster in this section, etc., etc. So then it tells you about GarageBand on Windows PC using VMware. So you notice how things have just switched around a little bit here? It's changed up, hasn't it? Now we need to use VMware, another completely different one. And look at this. Oh, look, we've got a different specifications for the downloaded file. It's now 56 megabytes and requires Windows all versions. Doesn't have checked virus free this time, so I don't really know what's going on there. So look, there's a lot of stuff here. And you're probably noticing an awful lot of ads that have been thrown in here in between that are completely unrelated to all of these instructions. Moving to macOS Sierra, like it's using old versions of macOS. And the bottom line here is that if you install macOS on anything but a Macintosh computer, you're breaking the terms of service. Now, if you don't specifically care about that, sure, you do you. However, it's not really worth it. So this is all of the this is the we use Windows iPadian emulator. So there's a lot of things there. Now this is where it actually gets to a point where this is what they should say up front. This should be the article. It shouldn't be here's how to do it. It should be it's not available on Windows. So even though this is one of the better, I'll be honest, this is one of the better websites I've come across because it's not claiming it's not the malware or the site that's going to try and steal your money and your firstborn child. It's actually got some decent information on here that is generally in the vicinity of correct. However, yeah, it is still a concern that these websites exist because if you came here and the only thing you did was download now, well, yeah, you're not going to be getting a version of GarageBand that will be running on a Windows PC. So there are a couple of reasons why folks do this, why they will put these videos out and why they will put articles and websites out. Oh, I don't know what that ad is. I'm going to close that now. Why they would put articles and websites up that actually promote this. And like most things, it's mostly about money. So you'll notice that on that website that I said before, and look, my website has advertising and promotion, and YouTube has advertising and promotion. I'd be a giant hypocrite if I said people shouldn't be able to provide good quality content and then make money from the referrals and the advertising and the things that run on that content. However, the difference is a lot of this stuff is being put up there to mislead and then get you to click through onto things that are ad sites or things that are not actually what they seem. So that's sort of phase one. So people set up a website, they'll fill it with that. You saw how many banner ads and how many clickable ads there were in that website that I went to before. They'll fill it with everything that they possibly can in the hope that people that are looking for something that doesn't exist and trying to go, yeah, I want GarageBand on Windows, are going to go there, and then they'll click it, and then they'll get ad revenue paid to them from clicking on those ads. The other thing is that a lot of this sort of software, let's just go, we'll try this again, GarageBand Windows PC. The other thing, I like that Reddit's the second answer here. The other thing is that some of these installers, so some of the ones that you go to and there's an executable file or an installation file and you download and you install that on your PC, they can actually have some spyware or malware or viruses, even though that one said 100% virus checked and free. They may include some sort of spyware, and that can be anything from a keylogger that grabs your passwords and sends them to people that you don't want to have your passwords, or it could be the sort of malware that locks up your computer and says you have to call a number and give lots of Bitcoin if you ever want to see any of your precious data again. So I don't recommend this. GarageBand guy, this is Patrick. He has a wonderful article there, and he's done some great videos as well about the fact that, again, you can't do this. And he says exactly what I just said. No, you can't, full stop. Yes. But unless you are using a virtual machine, which is the only if button maybe on there. And again, this is a good thing. Patrick has ads on his webpage, and I do not begrudge him for that because he is providing correct, accurate, and informative information about this topic. So that is legitimate. However, unfortunately, Patrick is kind of the exception because a lot of other folks are out there putting information out there. Oh, yeah, let's learn GarageBand. Putting information out there that is not correct and that could lead you astray. So, what can we do about this? Well, if you are getting asked this question, please direct people towards videos like this, articles like Patrick's. Send them to legitimate sources about GarageBand. And I get it. Some people don't want to use Macs or iPhones or iPads, can't afford to buy Macs or iPads or iPhones, and they still want to be able to create music. You know what the good news is? They still can because there are alternatives. My favorite alternative is something called BandLab. Yeah, BandLab is awesome. You can use it on any phone, Android or iOS. You can use it on any tablet, whether it's Windows or Android or iPad, and you can use it on your Mac or your PC desktop in your browser. You can create music right in your browser. I've done a heap of videos here on the channel about BandLab, and it really is a bit of a game changer because it is so cross-platform and you can just create music with some really good options. Now, there is a paid subscription option. I'll be 100% upfront about that. But even the free version that you get, if you're just looking to lay down some tracks, create some beats, record some music, BandLab is a fantastic option and can get you started well. What about other options? Well, my first DAW that I used seriously on Windows was called Reaper. And it is still available right now. You can download it for free. And then when you want to purchase it, now back in my day, it says cost not so much. It is still $60 for a discounted license or $225 for a commercial license. So that's how much it cost when I bought it more than 10 years ago. And it is a fabulous little digital audio workstation. It's made from the folks that made Winamp, if you remember, that really whips the llama's ass. Yeah, that one. So it was made by those folks, and it's amazing. Now, why do I use GarageBand and Logic Pro and not Reaper? It's because Reaper is fantastic and very full-featured, which also makes it quite challenging to get started with. Now, there's fabulous tutorials out there. There's reaperblog.net. There's a bunch of great places where you can get great information about Reaper if you're looking to create music on your Windows PC. I just got to the point where I was getting older and the brain wasn't working any better. And I just wanted to be able to make music and create music, which is why I jumped over and started using GarageBand on my iPhone and iPad and started Studio Live today so that I could share all of the stuff that I do. What other options are there? Well, many of us, the first digital recording we ever did was on something called Audacity. And Audacity is, again, a multi-function audio editor available across a whole bunch of different platforms. And it's simple, it's basic, it's definitely not the level of functionality of a more sort of full-featured DAW, but it does the job. So if you were starting out, you could do a lot worse than jumping in and playing with Audacity, trying Reaper, playing around with BandLab. There is a lot of options out there if you don't want to dive in and create music using GarageBand. Will it ever be available? So is it ever going to happen? Now, you're talking to the guy who famously said that Logic Pro will never be available on iPad, and now it is. It very much is available on iPad as well as Mac. So I don't know if you take my advice 100% on face value, but what I know about Apple, what I know about software development, and what I know about the cost involved in that, as well as Apple's strategy around the fact that they want this to be a piece of software that's going to help them sell more iPhones, iPads, and Macs. So I, for one, am fairly confident to say this will never be available. And yes, I know it's not unprecedented. There are Apple software products that are available on Windows PC, and there's plenty of Microsoft products that are available on Apple, such as Microsoft Office that I talked about earlier. But I don't think that GarageBand is going to be one of them. Is there a gap there in the market for someone to create a very GarageBand-like piece of software for Android or for Windows? Probably. Yeah. Is GarageBand perfect anyway? No, it's not perfect. But please, for the love of your deity of choice, stay away from these GarageBand Windows methods, unless, of course, you just want to try it. And in fact, I'm going to put the challenge out there. If you do try it, if you do try one of these methods, and you do get, I've put this challenge out every time I cover this topic, and I cover it probably once a year, as you can see here from my previous videos. I always put the challenge out there and say, if you found a way to get this done, then let me know. Show me. I'm 100% happy to see it. I will eat my hat if you can show me an easy way that someone, a lay person, without having to do anything dodgy, without having to get any licenses for Mac OS that are not kosher, so to speak, to be able to actually do this. Because the only way I've seen people do it is getting the Mac OS operating system, breaching the terms of service by installing it on a non-Apple device, and then running a virtual machine using VMware or similar, and then running GarageBand on that virtual machine. And every time I've seen it, the USB drives don't work properly, or plugins don't operate properly, or the sound has crackles, or there's ridiculous amounts of latency or lag or other problems that are actually built into it. So if you're out there and you're a tinkerer and you want to solve the problem and you want to be a hero, because let's be honest, the reason that this continues to be popular is because people keep searching for it. People are consistently searching for GarageBand on Windows or GarageBand on Android. Let's just do GarageBand on Android and see what we get for this one. I like that it gives us Reddit. There's the AI overview. No, GarageBand music creation, Apple is not. However, several excellent alternatives. And there you go. You've got some videos over on the side there, including one there from our mate Patrick at the GarageBand Guide. GarageBand APK for Android download. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I really, really wouldn't. I would stay away from any of these sites because especially on Android and especially on Windows, but on Android you can side load. So you can download these APKs and side load apps, and that is an absolute haven for folks wanting to get you to put software on your devices. That is not going to do the right thing. And by not the right thing, I mean it is going to either not work. That's your best option. Your best outcome is it just simply doesn't work. Second best outcome is that you install it and it works a bit, but it crashes and it's really dodgy. The third bad one, and maybe you've clicked a few links and they've made, 30 cents worth of advertising revenue off you. The worst one, of course, is that someone gets you to jump into one of these websites, you download GarageBand on a platform that it's not available on, and instead of it installing, it doesn't work at all. And you're like, oh, well, no harm, no foul, but it's actually installed some malware or it's installed some key logging software. And suddenly your bank accounts are drained and you're being extorted for cryptocurrency. So don't do it, folks. Don't do it, despite the fact that you can be told by all of these different places that it is available. Did I need to do a 20-minute video about this here and warn folks? Not necessarily, but I just like to do this at least every year or two so that I can point folks to this and say, it's 100% not available. And no matter what you hear, no matter what you see, the YouTube videos that are out there, all of the websites that are out there, it's not something that you can do. Unless you can, in which case, as I said, send me a video. I would love to see someone with GarageBand running on a Windows PC. Maybe I'll do it as an April Fool's one year. Just do a little, and this is the problem. It's going to get worse before it gets better because with the introduction of AI and deep fake stuff, who knows? Maybe next year's video will be a deep fake John saying, here's exactly how you install GarageBand on your Windows PC and Android tablet. I sure as heck hope not, but hey, stranger things have happened. That is going to do it for this one. If you do legitimately want to learn about creating, recording, and releasing your best music, jump on over to studiolivetoday.com. There you can jump into all of the different links there. Come and join me here on the YouTube channel. We've just passed 150,000 subscribers. There's more than 3.2 thousand or 3,200 videos on there. Everything you need to know about recording and creating in GarageBand, in Logic Pro, as well as the songwriting and the mindset stuff as well. I'll see you over there, folks. And as I say at the end of each and every video around here, please be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Don't go scamming and downloading dodgy stuff on the internet. And I'll see you next time. Keep creating.